Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Kiorkof, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be reviewing episode 3 of Hard Knocks Los Angeles training camp with the Los Angeles Chargers and Rams. I'm going to be giving you guys my thought process on everything that took place on this week's episode, along with what I really did think were the biggest highlights, which was the wide receiver coach for the Los Angeles Chargers and SoFi Stadium. We'll talk about those two things in specific because outside of that, I really did feel like this was a dull episode. I mean, there was so much information that I read from articles or saw from interviews or saw from just footage from different reporters from the different camp interactions that took place just in this past week, whether it was the scrimmage at SoFi and the different competitions that took place there, whether it was at the running back position or cornerback, linebacker, offensive line, or even the same thing with the Los Angeles Chargers camp with Mike Williams going down with an injury and the potential of another wide receiver stepping up or the offensive line position not being stable. There was so much competition that took place just this past week, but I felt like HBO kind of missed the ball on that this week. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about this past week's episode of Hard Knocks, but then we'll go ahead and we'll talk about everything that I've learned in terms of what the competitions have kind of broken down to between these two teams and their camps and what we can potentially expect to see on the upcoming episodes. So let's get right into it, shall we? Just like the way this week's episode began, it started with the Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver coach absolutely ripping into the wide receivers because, again, they missed the ball. And I really do feel like HBO missed the ball this week with their Hard Knocks episode because, again, even though we saw, we saw Brett Favre, we saw some comedy here and there, we saw some competition between Keenan Allen and Chris Harris. All of that is great, but I want more substance. I want more grit. I want more energy. I want more aggression. I want to feel like the football season is just around the corner. And I felt like they were safe this week. And that in itself, especially once we get pads on, is something rare because usually episode 2, episode 3, when full pads begin on HBO's Hard Knocks, that's when it's a different level. The whole game rises to another level. But this week, it just didn't feel that way. I personally felt like I was bored. But either way, I felt like the way that they started the episode kind of set the tone, and then it kind of went down from there. Because the tone was, do your job or you're not making this effing team. And to be honest, that should be the entire motto for this entire season. Do your job or we're not going to have a season. Do your job or we're not going to win games. We're not going to be able to win fantasy games in my specific case. But regardless, I felt that energy. I absolutely love the tempo and the transparency and the candidness of that coach. Much respect to him because, again, if the players are not going to do their job, if they're not going to get gritty, if they're not going to get aggressive, they're not going to put their hat in the defender's chest and make a block. If you're going to, take a half effort, make bad steps, make bad, technique plays, it's just not going to lead to your success. And I'm glad that he was on somebody's ass because I felt like somebody needed to get, at least ripped this past week in terms of what they were producing on screen, whether it was HBO with Hard Knocks or was, the Chargers wide receiver room. Regardless, speaking of the wide receiver room for the Chargers, I want to go ahead and let's break down everything that's taking place with the Chargers. And then we'll go ahead and we'll cover the SoFi Stadium along with the Rams later on in the episode. But regardless, the Chargers, there's a lot of competitions taking place with this team. A lot of it that they did not show. First and foremost, the running back position is not 100% set. Even though Austin Eckler is going to be the quote-unquote starting running back, there is still a lot of available reps for a guy like Justin Jackson and or Joshua Kelly because Melvin Gordon's absence. Again, Melvin Gordon easily was 200 carries a year plus with the receiving work he had on a yearly basis. There is so much vacant opportunity for one of these running backs to step up, yet they've yet to show either of them at camp. Now, I don't know if that's a decision by the Chargers not allowing them or HBO themselves, but I want to see the competition between those two because there is going to be one of the two winning the job and really becoming this team's Melvin Gordon of having some of those early running attempts and being a pretty big contributor in this offense. Again, this is a team that likes to run the ball. Their head coach is a former running back and running backs coach. They want to run the ball. They want to absolutely impose their will on defenses, and I feel like if you're not showing us the bread and butter of the Chargers, then what are you really showing us? Now, though, they did show us, a good amount of Keenan Allen, and we all love Keenan Allen here. I mean, that's a for sure. I mean, he's one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, one of the best route runners, absolutely. But the thing that they didn't show, what I kind of wanted them to show, outside of their interactions between Keenan Allen and Chris Harris, which is great, I wanted, to see some information regarding a third wide receiver. Sure, they can get ripped for the entire episode, but if we're not seeing somebody step up and we're not seeing, some sort of competition at the position, then what's the point? Why rip the player, and then if you're not going to show them drill or see a little bit of competition? Because Mike Williams, as of this moment in time, is injured. I saw the report earlier today, he's injured. And he might not play week 1. If that's the damn case, then we're going to have to figure something out, because we need another wide receiver, another 2 wide receivers to step up within said offense. I don't know, man. It's very interesting how they approach this week's episode. But regardless, let's go ahead and move on, and let's talk about more competitions within the Chargers offense. Offensive line. This is something that needs to be addressed, because again, they did have one of the lesser offensive lines last season, and that's got to change. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, where they brought in Brian Bulaga, who's one of the best tackles in the National Football League, a top 5 right tackle. They're going to keep him at right tackle. In fact, they're not going to move him to the left tackle position, which I originally anticipated them doing so, because he was a former left tackle until he got injured, and then David Bakhtiari of the Green Bay Packers took his job once he was down, but then he came back, played right tackle. But it kind of looks like Sam Tevi's probably going to be playing the left tackle spot, which is fine. But it's a lot to ask, especially with the quarterbacks on hand. You got to keep their blind side clean. Of course, they're mobile quarterbacks, but I think that's what they're doing. I think they want to have the front side of these quarterbacks clean with Brian Bulaga locking it down, so they have the ability to escape from the pocket if something leaks from the backside. I think that's the approach as of this moment in time. Sam Tevi is a clean offensive tackle. He's not one of the best, but in terms of his kick step and his ability to pass protect, I think he's pretty good. He's average average. We'll say he's average. We won't give him too much credit, okay? We'll keep him humble. But regardless, he's probably going to win the left tackle job. But there's competition there. There's more offensive linemen here that we need to be focusing on. Forrest Lamp. Forrest Lamp was a first-round pick a couple years back, right? Or he was an early-round pick at least. He ends up getting a season-ending injury early in the season, gone. And even in camp right now, he's struggling. We're not seeing any sort of competition there. We're not seeing him working at the left guard or the right guard position where he should be starting, but there's a competition there that we're not getting any sort of insight on, which is a little bit unfortunate. But hey, regardless, we can go ahead. We saw a little bit of competition at quarterback position on today's episode, which is nice. We saw, sure, we have the rookie quarterback learning, but at the same time, Tyrod Taylor looks like he's taking control of this team. I mean, he's pretty much breaking down film as if he's the head coach at a offensive meeting, which is great. That's leadership that we want to see. And just like Coach Anthony Lynn said, he might not be one of the most vocal quarterbacks. He might not be, high energy, but he is going to call you out if, in fact, you need to get your job done. So he's definitely an accountability guy, but he's also I'm going to do my job, everybody else do your job, let's pound the rock kind of thing. So all in all, should be good going forward. The last thing we wanted to mention for the Chargers, Melvin Ingram did all the right things. He absolutely did all the right things. He stayed in camp. He just like we talked about last week. If you want to get paid, you got to show them that you want to be there. And that's exactly what he did. He got himself his entire $14 million contract that was going to be for this year, guaranteed. So if in case an injury occurs, he is going to secure the bag. Absolutely respect that. You got to get your money because you don't have very long of a career in the National Football League. So you got to make sure you lock that down. He went ahead. He did all the right things. And hopefully this kind of sets a precedent for players in the future. If you want to be paid, show up, contribute, be a good teammate, be a leader, and then we'll go ahead and grant you said contract, or at least try to work with you to get it done in the future. All in all, should be good. Again, the last thing maybe I think I can cover, they talked a lot about Chris Harris. And Chris Harris is one of the best corners, but let that not mistaken anybody. The Chargers already had really good cornerbacks prior to bringing in Chris Harris. You still had Desmond King, which is one of the best nickel corners in the National Football League. You still have Derwin James, one of the best safeties. You still have Casey Hayward. You still have Michael Davis, who I played against like 3 times in high school. They still have really good cornerbacks in this team, and they're only getting better. So that's going to be a big thing. That defense, getting Melvin Ingram locked down, it just makes it that much easier overall for this upcoming season. All right, let's move on to the second highlight of today's episode. Again, I really did enjoy everything with SoFi. I mean, SoFi Stadium is a $5 billion investment from the Kroenke family. Okay, so let's be honest. They put in a lot of money, and that stadium is going to be, the future of these teams. And to be honest, it's an absolute masterpiece. It is on the thumbnail. It is on the image behind me for a reason. It's a little bit of a concept art, but regardless, SoFi Stadium is magnificent. I'm waiting for the Super Bowl because I'm buying tickets and I'm going. I'll go to my first Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium because that thing packs in 70,000 people, and boy did it look clean. And though I wanted to see a little bit more action from the scrimmage, a couple of things that we can take away from what we saw and what I've read in articles and or seen from interviews. The Rams played first offense, first defense, and then they went ahead and rotated. They try to simulate a game. A couple of the biggest standouts. Obviously, Aaron Donald is going to wreak havoc. I mean, he had 4, maybe 5 sacks in the entire time on that field. I mean, that is not a surprise because the Rams offensive line has struggled heavily, and you're not going to stop the best National Football League player by the name of Aaron Donald by just putting 2 guys on him. He's done that every week. He deals with that every single week, whether he's in the 1 shade, 3 shade, 5 shade, does not matter. He dominates offensive linemen. He once again proved that this past week. That's not a problem. But offensive line issues, that's something that we continue to see. Hopefully Havenstein's got, his shit together this year, because if he doesn't, we're going to be looking for a replacement real damn soon. I'll tell you that much. Outside of that, outside of the offensive line, we talk about running backs. Cam Akers did fumble. Aaron Donald forced a fumble on him, and that's a pretty detrimental thing, especially considering he's a rookie trying to win the starting job. Darrell Henderson did go down with a hamstring injury, which they didn't show. But hopefully in the coming weeks, we're going to lean in more on this running back competition because, again, whoever the starting running back of the Rams is week 1 is going to be filling huge shoes. You're filling the shoes of Todd Gurley, who is going to go down as one of the best Rams running backs of all time. That's just a fact. His production with the Rams through his short career there has been incredible. And though you're going to have to fill those shoes, I want to see more. I want to see more out of Cam Akers. I want to see more out of maybe, is Malcolm Brown going to end up producing in this backfield? Because Darrell Henderson did not practice today. There's no update on his soft tissue injury. I mean, the fact that it's a hamstring injury, that is not good. You pull your hamstring, you're out for a good amount of time, especially in the National Football League. So that in itself, I want to keep my eye on. Make sure, is Cam Akers going to be the starting running back? If so, let's go ahead and anticipate and see what's going on there. Outside of that, other offensive pieces that we want to go ahead and focus on. Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson is one of the better receivers on this team in terms of the young guys. You brought in a couple guys. You still have Josh Reynolds, who has a couple years of experience over him, but everything kind of points to Van Jefferson being the number 3 wide receiver behind Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp in an interview said, Van Jefferson is, miles ahead of me of where I was as a rookie comparatively to what he is at right now. And even in that scrimmage, even at practice, he is torching the secondary and he's producing very well. We'd love to see that because, again, you got rid of Brandon Cooks for a reason. You went ahead and you dumped that contract in order to invest. You found yourself a rookie that can fill in that spot and still have similar productivity because of the skill and the preparedness. I mean, he looks like he's a veteran out there. That's what everything's kind of pointing to. It's great to see overall. The last couple things I wanted to mention, supposedly, I mean, look, the secondary of the Los Angeles Chargers is going to be a little bit hurt right now. I mean, Rapp right now still dealing with an injury. You lost Eric Weddle. You lost Nickel Roby-Coleman this offseason. Was it Dante Dion? Double D? I mean, he is pretty much going to have to fill in somewhere. We're seeing a lot of him every single week, and hopefully he's ready to step up and produce. I mean, he made a couple plays on the ball, could have had an interception on a quick hitch route for Mr. Robert Woods, or as someone said in the comment section earlier, what was it, Bobby Forrest? I don't know what he said. I like the comment, but regardless, hopefully we can get, besides, other cornerbacks stepping up, everything kind of is on the shoulders of Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey on a weekly basis is going to have to lock down every single other, opposing team's number 1 receiver. And that better start week 1 against Amari Cooper. I better not see Amari Cooper torching our defense and absolutely wrecking havoc and wrecking shop. I'm hoping that's not the case, but that's going to be a tough challenge on that. I mean, you got 3 great receivers coming at you with the Dallas Cowboys in week 1. Besides Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, you still have CeeDee Lamb, who's coming out to produce and prove himself. And then you got Dak wanting a contract this year. They're coming for us. They're coming for our secondary. It's going to be a very interesting thing. But either way, that pretty much covers everything that has taken place this past week, all the different competitions, all the things that I'm looking forward into kind of seeing it produce and how it's going to develop in the coming weeks. Hopefully you guys are kind of on that same wavelength as myself. Hopefully I gave, perhaps gave you some information you didn't have prior to watching today. Either way, thank you everybody for watching. If you like today's video, click the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I typically do fantasy football stuff, but again, anything football interests me. We're just about underway. The season is just around the corner. It's going to be really exciting. Thank you everybody for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace.